Mr. Corey,
Here.
Mr. Predis,
Here.
Mr. Yucalito.
He said he might be late.
Okay, Ms. Hona, Mr. Kisco,
Here.
Mr. Putnam, Ms.
Here.
Toder,
Here.
Mayor Carbone, Ms. Ferguson, Ms. Klemazewski, Ms. Labomsky,
Here.
Mr. Petrozelli,
Here.
Ms. Schulte, Ms. Vians.
And
Okay.
John will join us whenever we're ready to have him jump in. So, because he's trying to do a different meeting too. So,
You want to just give the quick overview and then we can have John on for any questions and.
yeah, so what happened, you know, totally unintentional, innocent. They're trying to paint the cafeteria at Southwest. Marianne was thinking, well, this phone has never worked. It's just sitting in this little area. I guess she and Judy had joked in the past that it's never worked. It's not part of the PA system for the cafeteria, which would make the most sense. And so she asked the custodian to take it out so that they could paint. The only way he could get it out of the way was he had to cut the wires to get it physically out of the way, which seemed to make a lot of sense because it didn't seem to connect to anything. But I'm not an electrician, so, and no one involved in this decision is an electrician. And I have warned people now, administrators don't make any of those decisions, especially now while we don't have a facilities director to check and make sure that everything is okay. Or even have an electrician come out, because once they cut the wires, then they cut the connection to the fire alarm for the whole entire building. So we were really lucky that Impact Fire could come out and help us right away and assess the situation. Initially, we thought that it was going to cost $100,000, which actually, when I looked back on our capital plan for next year, it's in for $105,000. But he is able to replace the panel and work on this and make it functional so that for $26,000. So you have that quote. But it's been very frustrating, and we were very, very worried that we'd have to leave the building. So Ed Becerra, who's the fire marshal, said they could stay in the building as long as this was a timely response. People are taking all precautions, obviously, while they're there, but we want to address this as quickly as possible.
Did they
So that's
have
it in a nutshell.
Did they have an electrician look to see if they could just reconnect the wire that was cut, or?
Yeah, the Impact Fire people they have electricians on their staff. That's what they do. So they're making this work, and it will be a good fix. It will be a permanent fix. But, you know, it's still complicated because they have to fix the wiring.
Can I add something?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to ask John to join us too, because now that you've got the basic scenario. Go
Sure.
ahead.
The wire that was cut, it's a microphone for the emergency part of the system for people making announcements. It's not just a phone line. It actually has power on it. So when they cut that, it's a 24 volt voltage comes across that line, and it's an amplifier back in the alarm panel, and it destroyed the amplifier in the alarm panel. The alarm panel is 20 plus years old. You can't just fix the wire because the amplifier is built into the panel, and that panel can be replaced. The reason it's cheaper than the capital is because we're only changing the alarm panel up front rather than all of the sensors, which would be in the actual capital expenditure to change all of the smoke detectors and all of those things. This is just changing the front panel to get the system back to operational. So it was a mistake, yes, but it was not just a regular phone line. It actually had voltage on it. It shorted out and broke the panel.
Never electrocuted anyone when they cut it?
24 volts generally won't hurt anybody. Little tingle, but nothing exciting.
So
Great.
do you want to wait till they're getting John on the phone?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jeff actually could probably answer the question based on the explanation that he just gave. Is that, will we be able to use whatever fix that they're doing now towards the replacement or upgrade in the future? Or will it have to be, are we still looking at 105,000 when the time comes?
This panel is a retrofit for the existing Honeywell system that's in there. Glenn can probably add to this because he would probably know better, but the way it's explained to me, that's just the newer version of the panel. And when the time comes, our expenditure will be not quite $26,000 less, because I'm sure there's some labor that's not an overlap here with a replacement to get it
Okay.
fixed and working. But yes, it should reduce our capital costs because you'll still have to replace all the sensors and all the other
Well,
items.
it won't reduce the capital cost. It's just we're paying we have to pay it now versus,
Right. The
whenever
sum of
we were
the
gonna
two
do
will
it,
be
right.
more, but the sum of the two will be more than having done it all at once. But
okay.
Let's take advantage of having John because he's actually in another meeting. It looks like he might be in a bathroom. No, he's gone.
John?
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hi,
John.
John. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Does
No
anyone have any
problem.
questions specifically for John? Because we want to be conscious of his time.
I can give you, let me just give you a quick recap of where we are and what I did here. So when I was made aware that we had that issue with the fire panel, we contacted Impact Fire to have them start working on it. There were some initial things that were thrown around as far as what the costs would be. They were obviously substantially higher than what they did. Notifier has developed a retrofit panel that will accept the field devices for the current devices that are out in the field right now. So that's your strobes, your smokes, your heat detectors, your duct detectors. In essence, what we're doing is replacing the head end. It does have all the latest and greatest technologies in it, but it just has the ability to accept those field devices. If we had to change that stuff out, the price would go up exponentially. I worked with Impact Fire to get that quoting over right away. So I know that there was in the capital plan, the plan to upgrade the fire panel. It wasn't out maybe a year or two, but this would potentially push that off or lessen the blow with updating field devices at a later time.
Actually, it's in the capital plan for next year, John,
Yeah, okay.
in the original.
Yep.
Anyone have questions specific for John?
Do we know? I do have one.
What?
Was that microphone or phone device on the fire system, was it operational?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My understanding is that they weren't exactly sure what that device did. It just kind of sat on the wall. It's a as you know, Glenn, because you're in the alarm business, right? It's a mass evacuation mic, so that you can get on and as required by the fire department and areas of assembly. They unfortunately they took it off. The wires were clipped, and ultimately the shorting of the wires took the CPU out of the fire panel. So what they did was they at 7 o'clock at that night, my faithful right-hand man, Chris Paganini, kept me up to date, and they took all of the wires off of the panel and then tried to power it up to see if they can get the panel back online. To no avail. It took the CPU out of the panel.
Fair enough. I'm just wondering, like, how many other schools do teachers not know what that thing is?
That I can't answer that question.
One of those that are in like a recessed box?
Sometimes they're in a recessed box. Sometimes they're in a closed box, and other times they're just like a mic hanging out on the wall, which is what this one was.
Okay.
And each school has a different system, Glenn, just to clarify.
Yeah,
So
but
it may
I-
not look the same at any other school.
I would hope that the administrators in the buildings know what it is and what it's for.
Agreed.
Yep.
Okay.
Is-
Ellen,
And the head end
I
that
would-
we're,
oh, sorry.
and
Let Glenn finish, then you can go, Ellen, sorry.
Okay,
the head end model that we're replacing, is that the one we're planning on putting in later on? Were we doing the Honeywell, whatever?
Well, there wasn't a specific plan. Obviously, we would bring in different vendors to take a look at that. Now, obviously, you can't use Edwards, right? Because then you'd have to replace everything. So it would have had to been a Honeywell style product. It just so happens that this head end is an updated version of probably what would have went in, with the fact that it does accept the old field devices.
Okay. I'm done.
Go ahead, Ellen.
so now are we working on so that in every school, if there's something like this, that it's labeled so that anyone can look at that information and know what it is? Either if it's labeled on the wall or labeled somewhere, so that a principal or a janitor or a maintenance person, sorry, I mean, say janitor, but a maintenance person knows what it is.
So that's something for administration to handle at this point, since I'm sitting in the PD station down in Newtown.
Oh, they finally got him.
Hopefully not on
Do you need
charge.
bail money?
Finally got me.
Do you need bail money?
Not fun.
No, I'm good. It's a beautiful new
Chocolate cake,
facility, so it's
maybe?
very comfortable.
So Ellen, yes, in answer to your question, yes. So we'll be working on that. But as I said, it's so different at every school because every school was built in a different time. So they have a different system. Just makes it more complicated. But yes, this brought to light that we need to make sure that everybody knows the connectivity and what they have in terms of PA systems and wiring and all that good stuff.
And to
And
not
some
cut
buildings
wires.
might have three of
Yes.
those. Just so you know, some buildings might have three, because if, so you would have one in the auditorium, one in the CAF, or one in the gym. Those would be your areas of assembly. So that's probably where they would have been required. So some may have three.
And also protocol so that an electrician is the only person that can really
Yeah.
cut wires.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. I'm done.
Any other questions for John?
No.
Thank you, John.
For Scott.
Thanks,
Thank you, John.
Jen.
All right, guys, have a great night.
You
You
too.
too.
Thanks, John.
Bye. Thanks, John. All right, go ahead, Sue.
I was just gonna ask, and I'm sure it's gonna come up anyway. I'm just gonna ask Scott where you found money to do this.
Well, we did have some surplus, so it's going to be coming out of the surplus.
Okay.
Any other questions?
What's the surplus balance after this?
I'm going to be running everything in the morning, Glenn.
Yeah,
Ballpark. I don't.
yeah,
Penny.
we can't really. We'll have an illegal meeting if we talk about anything else but the fire alarm.
Well, it's in relation to the fire alarm. How much is that cutting into surplus? How much is the fire alarm project cutting into our surplus?
26.5 less.
Doesn't answer the question, Ellen.
I think we're going to land about where we said we're going to be within a reasonable amount.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for anyone? Scott or Sue? No?
No.
All right, so when you get those reports, Scott, you can maybe send them out to the budget committee with estimated surplus. They'll have that
Absolutely.
after the fire alarm comes out. All right, so entertain a motion to approve the emergency expenditure to repair the Southwest School fire alarm.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi, John and Glenn, or no, Jeff and Glenn. Yeah.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
So moved.
So, second,
All those in favor?
Okay, who
Aye.
moved?
Aye.
Who moved?
Glenn and Sue.
Thank you. At 7:16.
Yep. So thank you.